Hi, today is the 2nd of June, 2026, and this is yours truly, Clarice T. I want to update you about how I have zeroed in on the concept that I had taken for granted, but as it turns out, they will become as lifesavers. I like, being with three daughters, I have came across um, the different arrangements, like in the modern times. Um, being in this, my age, my circumstances in 2026, we talk about marriage and how is it outdated because the concept is very, it can be traced back to the earliest times. Come to think of it, the uniqueness of marriage is such that um, a person whom you do not share your blood with or should not. In fact, that is one of the, practical consideration. Like you should not share in the gene pool within the genetics, within the genetic makeup. It's not a good idea to be married to someone and bear children within that same pool of genetics, right? So, as a stranger in terms of blood, whom you will share um, your life with and somehow cut the umbilical cord, like very drastic, leave your mother and father to be with that spouse, with that someone, and enjoy the community property. And somehow, these last few years, instead of looking at it from the materialistic point of view, from the material side of it, I have come to appreciate the transfer of title as an entitlement within the family. It's a privilege that is shared within the family. That extrajudicial waiver or any document that will reflect how you have voluntarily relinquished something like ownership, contestability, but the law is there to acknowledge and recognize your right to be part of a family. And then that had come from two strangers being made into one, so as a couple. So that's quite very profound. I know that it has become, especially for those sophisticated who have not considered another point of view other than the convenience of it, other than probably the spur of the moment. But what it entails is like, can you possibly live with one person in your old age? Like for years and years and years, if God will, until death do you, until God separates you by death, right? So somehow it also was lost to me until I was at that circumstances where the institution of marriage would be the only thing that could grant me um, a hold of the other rights as a citizen. So without external pressure, I would not have looked on the real meaning of what marriage gives to a person. Is it some sort of strangle, what entrapment, something like that? And then I had to backtrack everything that I had said about my early marriage, about having my daughters um, born within that early marriage. And then I had to walk back even further. Like I had to, um, like I had no need to get to know the family I came from until the pressure became such that I should know in order to avail of the provisions of the law. So everything had been down to the simplest form, the way that God had originated the concepts that are meant to ensure the perpetu, whatever that word is right now, perpetuity, yes, that's right, of His plan, which is somehow along the way it's circumvented. So right now, I imagine having the kind of DNA classification, not by family belongingness, but like IQ or like by tendencies and abilities, like we can be traced according to our DNA, which will determine our level of belonging to the um, like to the singers, right? So the singers will have a genetic or DNA groupings that can be traced back to the profession. It can be, right? Because I was thinking about the soundness of genetic signature that will reveal our belongingness to the family line, and the the logic and the soundness of that versus the genetic belongingness to, let's say, a group of people that would be like determined by the geographical location, wherein um, you know, migration will be kind of problematic, because as soon as we leave the place, it it would mean that we are going to change the genetics. But the the way I understand it, DNA, no matter like ordinarily, without without um, dedicating a lifetime or two lifetimes to actually tamper with genetic engineering, but as they are left alone, they will determine actually where we have come from. And it will be classified according to family, because we will be sharing genes with them. But if that is not the case, what other possible groupings can there be where it will it would have rendered family as of lesser importance than how it is? So these are not exercises in futility, actually, because it will um, circle us back to the genius behind the original design. And actually, they are not everything that I had contemplated on, the dead ends. I always circle back to this exact place wherein I have to look back and I have to look forward. And yeah, I would be more, what? I can say for sure that I am not out to antagonize anybody within the church hierarchy, nor am I um, throwing something to cause confusion or um, to change. I will never, ever, ever dream of doing something that will knowingly, that will knowingly circumvent how I had traditionally known about the role of God, about the importance of the Bible, for instance, because these things had came up um, in the last decades, 2 decades actually, 20 years, about what possible goal, objectives do I have in sticking to the narratives that I have to this day. And I hope that we will be given a chance to speak about this, but in a more, some need to be spoken of privately, but some should have this platform for so as not to lead others astray to what just happened. So bye for now.